this from you here because I'm asking everybody this question, and of course it has to do with the quarterback of the Eagles. Who is Jalen Hurts to you, Seth Joyner, and who do you think he is to the Eagles? Is he the guy that's earned next year as the starter? Is he the franchise guy? Or is he a guy that they're immediately going to try to replace? What is he to you?
I think he is a guy who deserves to come back for another year. But as you go into training camp next year, you want to bring in a veteran to challenge him. I don't think that, what we saw, throughout the year warrants you just giving him the job. Although I believe that he'd win it no matter, what second-tier quarterback you bring in, even if it's Gardner Minshew. I think anybody with any kind of football smarts can look at that situation and see who the better quarterback is. Now, did Gardner Minshew come in and have a phenomenal game against the Jets? Absolutely. But it was the Jets, okay?
Right.
I think that he's growing as a quarterback. I think that, you got to realize this kid has been in 4 different systems in the last 4 different years of his career. He's learning how to play the game at the pro level. And for a lot of young quarterbacks, that's hard to do. And then you thrust them into the playoffs. And one of the most detrimental things I think I heard from Nick Sirianni last week was, we just want to treat it like it's a regular game. Like, don't get too high, don't get too low. Well, see, that proved to me the inexperience of understanding the moment as far as Nick Sirianni was concerned. Because when you go from preseason to the regular season, the intensity goes up 15 to 20%. When you go from the regular season into the postseason, that intensity goes up another 20 to 25%, okay? And the teams that have been there and done that, they know how to turn it up, okay? So when you look at, Jalen Hurts for his first time, Kyler Murray for his first time, when you look at Mac Jones for his first time, these guys were clearly shook. These guys were in a state of shock when they realized how much more intense a playoff game would be and how much faster everything was happening and how pressurized the situation actually was. So now, not only were you speeding up their clock, but you sped up their fundamentals, you sped up their mechanics, you sped up everything, and they looked like not either one of those quarterbacks looked like they had any business being in the NFL if you watch those 3 games, okay? So now, it's a great learning experience not only for Jalen Hurts, but for every young player, to understand that the playoffs is a different animal, okay? It's win or go home. You don't get to come back next week and try to get it right and fix it, and rectify the situation next week. Next week is next September, okay? That's when the next opportunity you'll have. So when you're coaching a young player, the mindset has to be, okay, how do I get him to get his intensity at a certain level to play at that level all the time? Now, Jalen Hurts knows that, the level that I played at during the season, if I get into the playoffs, it's a different level. Now, the trick is, how do I get him to play at that level all the time, whether it's the preseason, regular season, or postseason? And then, obviously, there's a lot of work that has to be done with this kid, his ability to, read defenses, his ability to get through his progressions quicker, to expand his vision as far as the field is concerned, to work on his mechanics, to drive the football instead of, floating the football in certain plays, the trajectory of his throws, his mechanics, his ability, to get the team in and out of there's a lot that has to be done, but I think he's earned the right. And I believe that Nick Sirianni honestly believes that he's earned the right to at least come back next year and try to get it right. And hey, if it doesn't work next year, then you start looking towards the future, whether that's a veteran down the road or a young quarterback. The only problem with a young quarterback now is that if you go and you bring in a young quarterback now, you're going to repeat this year all over again, because that young quarterback has got to go through all the machinations that Jalen Hurts has had to go through this year to get to where he is right now. And I don't care what quarterback you are, you're going to have some bad games here and there. Tom Brady lost to the Saints 9-0. They didn't score any points. This is the defending Super Bowl MVP, Super Bowl champion, and the guy that's, for all intents and purposes, could be back in the dance again. He's had his share of bad games this year, but it's magnified. It's Philadelphia. I get it.
Last thing for you, I know we're running long. If you have time, if I could just confirm or deny this story for me. I heard a story while you were playing. There was a bit of a contract dispute. Buddy Ryan actually called you and said, hey, look, Seth, you do what you got to do, get your money, but I got to act like a tough head coach. And he said some things in the media. Is that true? Was that kind of an orchestrated thing? Or is this something I just made up and grasping for straws here?
No, listen, he didn't necessarily call me. We had just got done, back in the day after, you had your mini camp. You had 2 mini camps. You had the post-draft mini camp, which was 3 days. And then you had a little mini camp, right before training camp started. So, I wasn't under contract, but back then, you showed up for all that stuff. These guys now, if they're not under contract, they won't come anywhere near the facility. So that last mini camp, he pulls me aside and he's like, hey, listen, the one thing that I ask is that when you sign the contract, you come in and you live up to the contract. He said, but because this is your time to make your money, you do what you got to do as long as it takes. He says, and I know them guys, they're going to try to give you the least amount of money that they can give you. But understand what my job is. I can't go to bat for you in the media. Okay. So there are some things that are going to be said, so on and so forth. He was like, just understand, I got to do my job, And listen, this is why you love Buddy, because you knew where you stood with him.
Uh-huh.
There was no BS. There was no ifs, ands, or buts. It was cut and dry. If I wasn't one of his guys, then he would have never said that to me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But that gave me comfort. And I'm sitting at home. He's like, oh, that 59, he better get his ass in here because you know what? This guy is in his spot. He's playing lights out. And I'm sitting at home and I'm just giggling my ass off because I know what the heck is going on. So I sign my contract. I come in, before on that Wednesday before the first regular season game. And I'm standing over on the sideline. He looks at me. He's like, what the hell are you doing over here? Get your ass in there. You gotta love playing for a guy like that, man.
What a time, man. What a time to be an Eagles fan. Just watch that defense, of course. Seth Joyner, you're the man. As your first-time guest on the Farzy Show, can't thank you enough. For those that don't know, it was such a pleasure working with you at NBC and the occasions we got to do that, brother. Make sure you guys check out his show, the Seth Joyner Show, across social media platforms, Twitter, YouTube, all of it. You guys can check that out. Also, make sure you guys just always check him out when he's on NBC Sports Philadelphia. Always talking the Eagles defense, always talking Eagles, of course. And Merrill Reese will be a guest on the Seth Joyner Show, correct?
Tonight, in a couple of hours.
In a couple of hours. Look at you. I will let you go then.
7:30 Eastern time. We'll be chopping it up.
You don't do a Merrill Reese impression, do you?
I do, but I ain't do. I can't do it when asked. It's like a natural thing.
Right. You just have to be in the flow of it.
Yeah. He goes. He's like, for the Eagles, this is Merrill Reese.
Not bad. Not bad.
It's pretty good. I mean,
it's pretty good.
Sometimes it's better when it's like, when I hear him on the radio and then I'll mock him right after. And it's like, man, that's pretty good. That sounds pretty good.